A lot of the midlife women that I coach initially come to me believing that their metabolism died somewhere along their lifeline, usually around the age of 40. That weight gain is the new normal as they cross the threshold of midlife, and that their body will never respond the way that it used to. And none of that is true. Welcome to your daily hit of grace and grit, your quick dose of inspiration to kickstart your day. This show is proudly sponsored by Rumble and Rise. To find out more about joining Rumble and Rise, head on over to graceandgrit.com/ready to rumble. I'm Courtney Townley, and here is today's hit. So in this episode, I want to shatter some of the myths that have been keeping you stuck around metabolic power. And if you are someone who feels that you do have a slow metabolism, I think a lot of these myths will sound very familiar. So myth number one is a lot of women at midlife believe their metabolism has crashed, right? That they have a slow metabolism. But the reality is your metabolic decline isn't from aging. It's usually from muscle loss. It's usually from inactivity. It is usually from eating a non-nutrient dense diet. Because muscle is expensive. It requires a lot of resources for you to keep muscle on board. And of course, muscle is metabolic horsepower. But the really empowering thing I want you to know is, of course, and I've said this in so many episodes over the years, but you can learn to build muscle, and you can physically build muscle at any age and stage of life. And when you do that work, especially at midlife and beyond, you are literally protecting your metabolic power. So age does not steal your metabolic power. Inactivity does. And not eating, not giving your body the fuel it needs to maintain muscle mass will also steal your metabolic power. Myth number two kind of goes alongside of that. There's a myth that a lot of women walk into midlife with, which is you need to eat less and less to stay the same weight. This is backwards. And what I mean by that is severe calorie restriction is metabolic self-sabotage. So think about what happens when you undereat. You don't have a lot of energy, which means you're probably not going to put a lot into your workouts if you work out at all. Not to mention physiologically what happens when you undereat is your metabolic thermostat, which literally is your thyroid, gets a message that there isn't enough fuel on board. So it sends a message to all of your cells saying, hey guys, I don't know what's going on here, but this woman doesn't seem to have enough energy on board for us to work at full capacity. So let's slow down cellular function to try to conserve her energy. Well, my friends, you do not want your cells to slow down their functions because that literally means your cells are slowing down metabolic power. Your body adapts by slowing down, right? That's what your body does. It's what it's meant to do. But we want your cells to be working at full capacity whenever possible, which means we have to provide enough fuel to our cells. We have to eat enough protein, which I will say most women I work with massively undereat on the protein side. And you've all heard this. I mean, this has been in the wellness space now for many years. But at midlife, eating at least 100 grams of protein, I think is very reasonable. Not very easy for a lot of people who don't have a habit of doing it, but very reasonable in terms of what your body needs. You can also consistently strength train and eat sufficient calories to fuel your muscle. When you eat more of the right things, it actually helps you to keep a better body composition, right? So macronutrients, a lot of you have probably heard that word, is really important to start understanding at midlife. Macronutrients being protein and carbs and fats. What are your calories actually made up of? Because, man, for a lot of years, women have been sold on this idea that it's all about calorie load. It's not just about calorie load. It's about what those calories are made up of. Okay, myth number 3, cardio is the secret to fat loss. Now, look, no one's arguing that cardio has its place. And cardio, especially I would argue interval training, can play a really amazing role in fat loss. But it is not the metabolic game changer. In fact, a lot of women have learned this lesson the hard way. I've worked with a lot of distance runners, people who were just obsessed with cardio training, thinking that it was kind of the secret to success when it came to weight loss. But excessive cardio, I have seen more often than not, break bodies down. Because without strength training, it can accelerate muscle loss, which we already explained tanks your metabolism. So if you want to change your body composition, build muscle, but lose fat, make sure you really work to pick up weights on the regular, not just your pace. But you got to start strength training. All right, myth number 4, weight loss in perimenopause and menopause is impossible. Is it harder? Sure. Hormonal shifts change the way that your body plays the game. But is it impossible? Absolutely not. And I feel so strongly about this because, as many of you who listen to the show know, I worked in the realm of fat loss for over a decade. And the large majority of my clientele, I would say, was women over the age of 50. And they lost weight. They significantly changed their body composition. The truth is, women lose weight successfully in midlife every single day by prioritizing the right things consistently. And what are those things? Well, making sure that you're, like I already said, eating enough protein, managing stress and sleep, regularly lifting weights, embracing patience over perfection. The timeline for weight loss might change a little bit at midlife, but the possibility of it definitely doesn't. Okay, the 5th and final myth I want to address, because obviously we could talk about this all day long. There's so many myths around weight loss at midlife. But the 5th myth is that your hormones are the entire problem. I think it's awesome that in the modern day era, we're having so many conversations about hormones and menopause and perimenopause and HRT and all the things that can help women out. Hormones matter a lot, absolutely, but they are not the only player. Poor sleep, chronic stress, inadequate movement, inflammatory foods all work against you when it comes to weight loss. And quite frankly, I've long said this, if you are not doing those basic things, your hormonal tweaks aren't really going to make a huge difference. You can't supplement your way out of a lifestyle that is fighting your biology. So fix the foundation first. So what a lot of modern day marketing messaging fails to tell us is that your metabolism isn't broken. Your metabolism is not broken. But we're kind of sold on that idea because it makes a lot of money. But at midlife, your metabolism is doing exactly what it was designed to do based on the signals that you are sending it. So if you have less muscle on board, you are going to have a slower metabolism. You are going to have slower metabolic function. If you have chronic stress and poor sleep, you are going to experience more hormonal chaos. If you keep reaching for extreme diets, you are going to rumble with a lot of metabolic challenges. But if you change the signals, you change your body's response. So when you feed your body enough, you challenge your muscles consistently, you manage your stress, you prioritize your sleep, your muscles will respond. Your metabolism ultimately will respond, not overnight, but it will respond. So for anyone who is feeling deflated about their metabolism, specifically as it relates to weight loss, you are not too late, you are not too old. Your body is not beyond repair. The rules have changed a little at midlife, yes, but there is so much you can do to support your body, to support your metabolism, and create weight loss results at midlife. If this stirred something inside of you, imagine what a whole book of clarity and courage could ignite. The Consistency Code, a Midlife Woman's Guide to Deep Health and Happiness, goes even deeper into the mindset and practices that create real, meaningful change at midlife. Grab your copy today over at theconsistencycode.com and keep the momentum alive.